So I introduced Deer into meditation. He came to Sydney early in the year for 3 months,
Yeah,
and he was living next door to me on this beautiful, beautiful spot on North Bondi Beach.
yeah.
And he was like, "Yo, look, what are we doing tomorrow morning? Like, we're going for breakfast, we doing whatever." And I was like, "Well, generally, this is what I do." And he was like, "Meditation, yeah, gas, bro. I'll give it a go." Literally, like, used to take the piss out of it.
Mark, can you make sure we use this one for the, do you know, for the highlight videos that we do?
Gas,
Let's do
bruv.
that one. Gas, bro. Lucy Lord, welcome to, I can't believe that's on there, can you?
No, no.
Welcome to Paul Mort Talks Shit. Are you excited?
Yeah, I am.
A
Thank
little
you
bit
very much
nervous?
for having me. No,
Are you
no, I
not?
feel good. No, I feel like you're a friend. Should I be nervous?
Well, I've got some questions written down that may make you nervous.
Okay, that's
I'm not
alright.
sure.
I'm
The
good with
first one
that.
was going to be that whole thing of what's your story, because I thought this morning that me and you had only met, that I thought we'd never met in person. And then you said we have.
I think we have. I'm just assuming
I
we
don't know if I
have
feel bad about that or
because
not.
you were at IFS.
I wasn't pissed.
Well, I was there in body. I wasn't
you-
there in soul because I
Oh,
was
okay.
quite pissed.
Oh, well, you
So I think we've met before. I'm just assuming we
All right,
have.
well, it's nice to meet you for the second time.
Or maybe first.
Lucy Lord, I tell you what I'd want to know. My first question just is story question mark. I feel like I was pissed when I wrote that. What's your fucking story?
Do I have a story?
Do you have a story?
I mean, it sounds boring in my head, but I
Does
suppose,
it?
yeah, I
Well,
suppose
well
we've
tell
all
me
got a
this. Like, what are
story.
you doing in London right now?
Well, I've come down for a week for James's event on
Mhm.
Friday, and then
Mhm.
you'd invited me here.
Yeah,
So I'll stay until Monday.
yeah. And where do you live now? Like, I thought you lived here.
No, so I've never lived in London.
Really?
No, never. I used to work in London a little bit,
Right.
but I've never lived here. I'm living just outside of Cheltenham at the moment. I'm in the country at the moment.
Who do I
in
know
the
that lives in
sticks.
Cheltenham? Frankie Foster lives in Cheltenham.
Yeah, so I know
All those
Frankie.
do you know
Yeah,
Frankie?
I know Frankie.
I knew when I saw Cheltenham, I was like, I'm sure Frankie and Alex live there.
Yep.
The race course is there.
Yep.
Is that where you were brought up?
No, not at all. So I moved to Cheltenham just after university. So I went to uni in Hartpury in Gloucestershire, which is like a sporting. You're smiling
Right,
as if
okay.
you know
I
what
don't
it
where-
is.
no,
Oh.
I don't know where any of these places are.
It's like a sporting uni.
Okay.
So that's where I met James.
Okay.
And but I grew up in the Middle East and in Scotland.
What?
Yeah.
All right, you are a Lucy Lord Globetrotter. So you grew up in the Middle East?
Yeah, in Oman.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit. Is that where your dad had a job or?
Yeah, so he was working in oil and gas.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad got married when they were like 21, 22, which seems really young now.
Yeah.
And they moved to Brunei first, in Malaysia,
Yeah.
and then the Middle East, Oman.
Brunei's quite a funny word, I think.
Yeah,
It was
and
quite a funny word, isn't it?
yeah, and then they stayed out there. Then we moved to Holland, and then when I was, I think 7, we moved to Scotland.
Jeez.
And so I went to school in Scotland.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a mongrel accent.
Yeah.
So I went to school in Scotland, then came down to England for university,
Mhm.
and then just stayed down that way really.
What did you do at university?
Just a sporting science. Yeah,
Mhm.
sporting science, and I wanted to go to a uni where I could bring my horses down with me because I was competing quite heavily. And that
Okay.
stuff.
So we had the whole horse thing going
So
on as well.
we had the whole horse thing going on.
Yeah.
And then after uni, I thought, I'm not going to be able to make a career from this where I can make money.
Mhm.
So
You ever thought of polo?
I don't know if I'd fit in the polo scene.
Mate, me and Smith had a conversation when we went to Ramsey's the other week, and he was telling me about polo, and I was like, I didn't even know that world existed.
Yeah, I don't know
mad.
much about that world.
It's mad.
So that's not the world I grew up in.
So we didn't do we decided to, I don't want to say bin the horses off because that sounds a little bit harsh.
It's kind of
but-
what happened. It was like, I'm not going to be able to make money from
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And so what do I want to do? And it wasn't that I had some really nice competing horses. So I thought it's not fair to keep them,
Mhm.
you know, if I'm not going to use them. So I sold them and then moved to Birmingham for a year randomly. I got a job in pharmaceutical sales, which I worked really, really hard to try and squeeze my way into. And I
Mhm.
did. And I said, I will move anywhere you want. Anywhere. I don't have any friends down in England, but I will move anywhere you want.
Really?
And they literally pointed at a map and said, right, Birmingham. And I thought, great. So I lived there for a year just by
Mhm.
myself.
So pharmaceutical sales,
Mhm.
I'm sure you've heard this multiple times because that could be, there's a lot of pharmaceutical sellers in my town. What kind of pharmaceuticals?
Veterinary pharmaceuticals.
Oh, so veterinary pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like MDMA and that.
So like ketamine and stuff like that.
It's
Yeah.
ketamine, it's not MDMA.
Anesthetics was my
Yeah.
specialty.
And how long did you do that for?
I've only just stopped doing it about 4 months ago.
That's what I thought. So
Yeah.
that was
So that
quite a
was
long career.
10, 11 year career. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
And that's what you did So you went from Birmingham to Australia?
No, so I went from Birmingham. I was there for about a year, and then I
Mhm.
thought, I don't know anybody here. Like I didn't meet any friends
Yeah.
because you cover like an area essentially. So
Mhm.
you get given a car, nice salary, all of that
And were
stuff.
you okay with all of that?
Yeah, I was happy as Larry. Bit of an introvert.
Really?
Yeah, a bit of an introvert.
Yeah.
So I was in a good kind of space mentally for
Yeah.
it. But didn't make any friends,
Yeah.
didn't do anything. So after a
Yeah.
year, I was like, right, I should probably, get out a bit. And
Yeah.
so Cheltenham, just down the road,
Mhm.
is I knew from university. I had a couple of friends down there,
Yeah.
and so I thought, well, I might as well just move down there. And so I did, and then stayed there for 4 years, and then went to Sydney for 5 years.
So was Sydney in the same kind of company?
No, so I started at a really small French veterinary pharmaceutical company in the UK, and then got headhunted and kind of moved around a bit. And then I worked for Pfizer, or their veterinary side in
Mhm.
Australia. So that's the biggest one.
Mhm.
And I went over to Australia being like, I am never working in pharmaceutical sales again. I hate it. I hate my life. I
Yeah.
hate that it's a soul sucking. It's this, it's that.
Yeah.
Moved to Australia, worked just in retail in a
So
Lululemon store.
what was the shift then, Lucy, between liking it and then hating it?
Well,
Or did anything happen in particular, or?
what I came to realize is that it's not that I hated the job, it's that I hated aspects around the job. So my life around the job, I hated how I was in the job. I hated my kind of environment. It wasn't so much the job that I hated,
Yeah.
it was everything else that I hated around that.
Mhm.
And so I moved to Australia, worked in just a retail Lululemon store, and then in a cafe, like Whole Foods store, just wiping down tables and serving food. Was having the time of my life, living in a hostel. And then I thought, well, I want to stay in Australia. And the only way I can stay in Australia is through a sponsored visa. So I thought, oh, I'll dip my toe back into the pharmaceutical game if I can,
Yeah.
which I could because they're a little bit behind in industry. So if
Yeah.
you come from the UK, they think you are like gold dust
Really?
because you're 10 years ahead. Yeah, in most industries.
Shit.
Yeah, so in veterinary, in medical, in most industries, they think if you come from the UK, you are gold dust. So I got snapped
Shit.
up over there. And
That's
then,
like when you go on holiday and you meet birds and you've got an accent like ours. Like, oh, say Geordie Shore, say YI, say Biker Grove.
exactly that. Exactly that. They snap you up.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah, and so I stayed there, and then I came to learn that like I don't actually hate the job, and I've never hated the job, but I hated the environment that I was putting myself
Yeah.
in, and I really didn't like
And
myself
did that
a lot
become even
before.
more apparent when you were in Australia?
What that I wasn't
That you didn't like that?
No, that became apparent before I moved, and I could have moved to Albania. I could have moved to I didn't care. I'd never been
Yes.
to Australia before. It wasn't about Australia for me.
Yeah.
I'd never been. I had no friends there.
Yeah.
It was just about escaping the environment that I was in.
Mhm.
That's all it was.
And then you went back into it.
And then I went back into it to get my visa.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, do you know what? Actually, I don't hate this job. I'm good at it. I'm not saying that it's my passion or my
Yes,
purpose or
yes.
anything like that, but I thought, do you know what? I'm good at it. It's got all of these advantage points.
Yeah.
So I thought, whilst I figure out what I'm doing with my life, I'll stick in it.
Yeah.
And I could have happily done that for another 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, well, I could have happily stuck in that kind of comfortable
Yeah.
spot of, do you know what? I'm on a good salary. I've got a car. I've
Yeah.
got this. I've got that. I'm
Yeah.
in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Yeah.
I could happily have stayed in that, but it was this. There was no kind of internal fire.
Mm.
There was no passion burning. There was no purpose for it.
Mhm.
It was, James said something to me about 3 years ago, which was, do you do this job because you're good at it, or do you do it because you really want to?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, given the choice, I wouldn't wake up and do it.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So then, I've got wrote down there. I've literally just wrote how cooking. What the fuck?
A good question, because
Like,
I
what was
still
this?
don't know how.
So the shift for you is, and this is the most I know about you from following you online, is that you love fucking baking shit.
Yeah.
Like, you love baking
I
shit.
love.
Has that always been a thing, or was it a thing that came about at a certain time?
I've always loved food, and I've loved the experience that it brings. It brings people together. I've loved, if you go to a wedding, if you go to a birthday, if the food's shit, the entire event is shit. Really, isn't it? It's all about the food.
Yes.
And I've always loved food, but I didn't actually know how to cook until I was early 20s. After university, didn't know how to cook.
I still don't know how. I'm 41. I still don't know.
I still burn toast. Yeah,
Well,
didn't know.
Dr. John DeMartini would say it's not that you don't know how to cook, Paul. It's not high on your list of
Yeah.
values.
And that's fine. When people turn around, they're like, "Oh, no offense, mate, but I don't like cooking.
Yeah.
I don't mind you, but I don't mind cooking." I'm like, "That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. How boring would it be if everyone liked the same shit in the world?
Everyone be fucking chefs.
Exactly. I'd have no bloody job, or this job that I've made up now." So it's just something that I really enjoyed, and like I was always finding an excuse to bake a cake because
Yeah.
it's my way of like it's creating, and it's my way of connecting with people, connecting with things. So I'd always be looking for a way to bake a cake.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of became a joke. It was someone's birthday, it was some kind of event, or you're celebrating a divorce or celebrating whatever. And I'd always turn it into an excuse
Yeah.
to bake a cake.
Yeah.
And then it just started being something that I would happily spend time doing over other things. And it became for me one of those things where, like what they call flow state, and you lose yourself in it, you lose time, you don't want to pick up your phone. That for me is what it became. And slowly over time, I just built a website, and off the back of that got interest from friends and publishers who were like, you could probably do something with this. And then earlier this year I was like, oh, I feel like my time is kind of split between these two different things. It's the job I'm getting paid to do and the job I would love to be paid to do. And outside of that, I don't really have any time. So I'm living in the most beautiful spot on Bondi Beach, like couldn't be closer to the beach.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the beach. I'm like, I don't spend any time there because I'm inside the kitchen. And so I'm going to have to choose, or I don't have to choose one or the other. I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm using that to pay for this hobby that I love.
Yes.
And not really having much time outside of it. And I thought, I've been in this situation before.
How long were you fucking cooking for?
Oh, hour. I could do it for hours.
Really?
Yeah, I could do it for hours. And I was doing all these events on the side. So it's the creating the recipe that takes a long time.
Yeah.
It's like you have an idea. So what's your favorite food? Like what's your favorite bake, for example?
My favorite bake, mate. That's
Totally
the
old.
first time I've ever been asked that question.
What's your favorite
This
cake?
also reminds us of a story that I've told in this podcast before, whereas one time I did bake some brownies with weed in them.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. You've got to be careful with those.
I legit thought I was going to die. Lesley still has nightmares about it because she was there as well.
Oh.
That was insane. What's my favourite bake? Mate, do you know? I love a Bakewell tart.
Okay, Bakewell tart.
But I've never had a homemade Bakewell tart.
Well then, you're missing out.
I've had the Mr. Kipling's with a little fake cherry on it. Are they fake, them
They're pretty
cherries?
good. I think they're like dips in enough sugar to make them fake.
Glacier cherries.
Glacial cherries.
That's what they're called, isn't
That's it, yeah. But like say if a Bakewell tart, and I sat down and I thought, right, I want to make a Bakewell tart. It's not the actual baking that takes a long time. It's the trying to create it and put your own spin on it. And
so you wouldn't just take...
I wouldn't just be like, oh, Mary Berry's got one. I'll put my name on it. I was going to call you
like a young Mary Berry.
No, I'll take that.
Yeah,
I love
would
Mary.
take that as well.
Mary.
Or a young, what's her face, that weird one?
Who's the weird one?
Nigella.
Oh, yeah, Nigella
Lawson.
Lawson.
She's like Mary Berry, but just says sexy words all the time, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Ew. I remember once she was using these, they're like little jewels.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a fucking seed, man. Come on.
Yeah, so a Nigella or a Mary Berry, I wouldn't just take their recipe and then be like, well, I'll do that.
Yeah.
You've got to put your own spin on it. You've got to put your own footprint on it, really. And
So
that's what takes
how
the
do you do
time.
that?
So I tend to think about three different things: color, texture, taste. How it looks is really important to me. So I
Yes.
tend to eat with my eyes.
You do have... I do notice your presentation skills.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, because that takes ages. But like Gordon Ramsay's burger that you went to the other
Oh,
day,
yeah,
you look
yeah.
at his Instagram page
I'm
and
legit
it's...
still full of it from yesterday.
The burgers are like you want to eat them just by looking at them. So I try and think of how do I want this recipe to come across? How do I want people to taste it, enjoy it? What do I want to feel like after I've eaten it? And then I work backwards and build a recipe up from that base.
Shit.
And that's what takes the time.
I
Because then
didn't
you
think it was
try
that
it
complicated.
and you think that was shit. Or you try it again and you're like, oh, it was good.
Do you have those
but it's
ones
not great.
where...
Every time.
Really?
Nothing, very rarely does anything is a one-hit wonder.
Really?
Yeah, very rarely.
Shit.
Yeah. And then I'm like,
So
is
what
this
do you still
Bakewell?
eat it though?
I still eat it, and that's the point. Like, what's taste test it, don't I?
Yeah, but if it's not that good, this will be me 100%. If it's not that good, and you've had like 2 bites, and you've made a full tray bake, because is that your thing? Would you say tray bakes are really your thing? That's what I would know you for.
If I chose to make something for someone, it would usually be a bake.
A bake, yeah.
Yeah, a tray bake or a cake.
So
or
if
whatever.
a couple of bites of the tray bake are shit,
yeah.
what do you do the rest of the tray? Do you?
So I always cook in small batches when I'm testing because I don't like throwing away food.
She's not as stupid as me.
But even if it's still shit, if it's shit for me,
Yeah.
I'll test it on people. to see if it's shit for them. And then I also need to question, like, is this cherry bakewell shit because it's shit, or is it just that I've had 18 bites already?
Yes.
And is that what it is?
Yes.
So
you become the feeder friend.
You become the feeder friend, yeah. And I become the fed as well. So, but I'll have like, if I'm making, like I made last week, I'm working on a curry recipe at the moment. And so curry serves 6, for example. And so I've got five portions of curry in my fridge. I'll have it for breakfast. I'll have it for lunch. I'll have it for dinner. I have no qualms
Here's
about
a random
that.
fact about South Shields. We have a 1 mile strip in South Shields that has over 30 curry houses on it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. And
I
you know
love
what?
a good curry.
Someone opens one up. I'm like, why the fuck would you? If you had a curry shop, like this 1 mile, I can't understand why anyone would open a curry shop next door.
That's a good market.
In between like 17, 18 others. It's strange that, isn't it?
That's a good market, I suppose.
Yeah. So when are you going to start doing videos about these, or do you do them?
What videos about?
Because one thing I've noticed.
Oh, God.
One thing I have noticed about Lucy's cooking and her demos, the photos are amazing, right?
Yeah.
The photos are amazing.
Yeah.
But I never really see videos.
Of what, the behind the scenes? Or?
No, like I might see a video of something coming out of the oven.
Yeah.
Or something getting chopped. Oh, I don't know if you've done this actually. You may never have done this. You know that thing that people do where they take a fork and they open a poached egg? I don't think I've ever seen you do that.
Yolk porn. I feel like everyone's got yolk porn though, don't they? So
it is a little bit
I'm a
samey.
bit like it's a bit samey.
It is very samey.
I quite like the entire experience of cooking. So for me, I'll have a podcast on the background or Spotify playlists. And so I quite like making little reels or videos of a recipe from start to finish.
Yes.
But as you can imagine, it's quite difficult when it might not be any good.
Yes.
You know, so I need to test the recipe to make sure that I'm really happy with it before sharing it, and then I'll make it again and video it.
You know what I mean by video?
Oh no, I don't know.
Someone with a camera on you, and you going, you take this and you pour that in there. Do you do them?
No, I thought you meant like an overhead bird looking down at my hands.
No, I mean like someone. Would you do one? Would you do them?
It makes me feel a bit sick, so in that case, I would probably have to do one. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it might be this thing that you did for like this supper club thing that you do.
Yep.
I thought it must be. I thought that's what supper club was.
No.
Like I joined you live.
Yeah, right.
Or I watched a video and a cook along with Lucy Lord.
Yeah.
So we haven't done that yet.
Not really. I've done a few cook-alongs, but usually like
in-person cook-alongs.
Like online events, and I'll do them, and I'll have the camera facing my face, which I am not. I don't feel very comfortable with.
I'll say hello to your little friend.
and that one.
There are a lot of cameras in here.
So I'm not that good. I'm not that good, but I don't feel comfortable, unlike the majority of my friends. So I feel like I gravitate towards the extroverts and the loud people and the ones who are like, that's what they're into. And I'm much happier behind the shadows, like tucked away, just behind the camera as opposed to in front of it. But I've done a couple of those and I should probably do more because they make me feel uncomfortable. So it's probably something good for me to do.
They might be only uncomfortable for the first few, for the first couple.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like podcasts I used to feel like sweating coming on.
Really?
Yeah. I used to, and now I don't because it's just chatting.
Because you've done loads.
Because I've done a few. Yeah.
I love it. So my thing is, do you? And I've circled this, right? Do you think cooking is a thing that anybody that wants to stay on top of their mental health is great for them? Is it useful for them, or do you think that's the vibe that I get from you? You do it because you fucking love it. And it helps you stay on top of your mental health.
It does, yeah. For me personally, it's my connection with further looking after myself, looking after other people. It's giving back. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like food and cooking and baking is just my modality.
Yeah. Do you know that's exactly what?
So if you turn around to me and you were like, aye, but Lucy, I don't like cooking.
Fucking hell, mate. Do you know when I said that was quite a good Geordie accent before?
Don't take it back now.
Do you know who Rasta Mouse is?
No.
Rasta Mouse. He's like a Jamaican little.
I don't like cooking, Lucy. I've got 18 curry houses down my road. Why would I do that?
Why would I do it? It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
But you get my gist.
I do get your gist if I was Jamaican.
So if you said that to me, I'd be like, mate, don't cook then.
Yeah.
If you want to order food in, if that makes you feel good, do it. Don't cook.
Do you know, when you were saying it, when you were describing it the first time, it sounded like that's what jiu-jitsu is for me.
Yep.
Or that's what even being on a stage is like for me. Like that's when I feel like I'm in my flow. I don't need reminded to do it. I don't need incentivized to do it. I don't need motivation to do it. I don't need any of that stuff. And when I do it, I don't need to worry about distractions. I never procrastinate on it. Is that what?
That's exactly what I mean. And I think that it comes down to the individual. And so a lot of my friends love BJJ, and I've been to like maybe 20 classes and I don't mind it. I'm quite good at it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't light me up. It doesn't, it's not something that I'm like, I can't wait to get back to it. Whereas like for me on the movement front, yoga does that to me. I hate it. But there's something inside me that's like,
really?
Yeah, something inside me that's like, go back, do it again.
No way, you hate it?
I find it like a mirror. So you kind of go in there and it shows up all of your weaknesses.
Yes.
And it shows up all of your frustrations and the things you're not good at.
Yeah.
And then you can see those incremental improvements over time. But it no longer becomes, probably like jiu-jitsu, it no longer becomes about the belt. It becomes about improving. Yeah. And so that's my own thing on it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. But
that you do it all the time, but you don't like it.
I very rarely look forward to it. I love the feeling after.
Yeah.
I love
the hot shit ever?
The hot shit.
The hot shit. The hot yoga.
I've done a couple. Yeah, I've done a couple. Yeah, I've done a couple of them. But yeah, I like the feeling after. It's almost like this euphoria after, and sometimes during. Yeah. But I know when I turn up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be difficult. Or I could eat. I'd rather be baking than doing this.
Yeah.
But that for me is something that is really good for my kind of growth mentally.
Yeah. So how do we end up getting paid for cooking?
Yeah, good question.
How did we end up turning this fucking thing into? It's essentially a career now, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I'm still like, I feel like I'm still kind of creating it and building it, but I quite like that. I quite like that challenge of actually like questioning it and being like, okay, so I'm doing pharmaceuticals for my job. Mm-hmm. I don't love it. I wouldn't choose to do it if I didn't have to. Yeah. So how do I want to work? How do I want to get paid? How much do I want to get paid? Mm-hmm. When do I want to get paid? What income streams do I want? And almost kind of starting from scratch and being able to build it that way.
So exciting.
And I think when you look at it from that angle, there's so many different avenues through food that I didn't understand you can make money from. Mm-hmm. And of course, as long as you're providing value, then
that's where the money always goes.
There's
money always goes to the value.
Yeah, there's financial benefits to come from that.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of thrown like a bit of it makes no sense on paper, like this move. And moving out there in the first place, it made no sense on paper.
Yeah.
But for me, it was never a decision. It was more just a feeling of this feels right. I'm going to follow this. And if it all goes tits up, I'll go pedal some cat again.
Yeah.
Down your Curry Street.
I don't know what to fucking say. I don't know what to say. Because that was like mic drop. I'm not even kidding. So we're now doing the food thing all in now.
I think so, yeah. Durin joked with me the other day, he's like, Lord, you're still on you've taken a gap year. And I'm like, do you know what? I love that because maybe I have.
Yeah.
Maybe I have taken a bit of a gap year in terms of just time to figure out what it is I want to do. Like I love food photography. I love being behind the camera, capturing the food, trying to make it look aesthetic, make content that's engaging, reels, videos that's like, I look at it and I'm like, I want to make that. I want to go out to the shop right now and buy that ingredients so that I can make it. I want that because I've got whatever tomorrow that I want to share it at. That's what I like creating.
I love it. Like you'd make content and say, click this link and buy it. Not the ingredients. You know what I'm saying?
Just buy the cherry bakewell.
Like really, yeah, like listen, you can keep the ingredients.
Yeah.
How could I possibly buy that fucking tray bake?
Yeah, well...
Could you ever see yourself going down there? Or?
No.
Could you not?
No, I don't. I did a few events in Sydney, which all sold out, all did really, really well. Yeah. But it was cooking, baking for about 30 to 50 people. And I don't enjoy cooking
You baked for them?
Yes. Yeah. So I hosted the event. Yeah. And as part of that, we had these big buffet tables. And 30 to 50 people's all right. Yeah. But that's not what I enjoyed. That's not what I enjoyed. I enjoy the creation side behind it, the recipe development, the taking the photos of it, putting it out to the world. And then my biggest satisfaction comes when people take pictures of their own food or be like, oh, I've just made this recipe from your book or from Supper Club. I loved it and just did it that way. And that for me is like cloud 9.
Yeah. We've had recipes from your book.
Have you? What have you had?
We've had banana bread, which I think everyone's had.
Yeah.
We've had some kind of lolly.
Oh yeah, like an ice lolly.
Some
like
kind of ice lolly thing.
Yeah.
I can't. It was banana peanut butter.
Banana peanut butter. Yeah, good man.
Kath, who's in our office.
Yeah.
I gave her a copy of one of them, the books. you know, I loved, I bought loads of your books. And then Harper Collins sent me an email saying, hey, we've got a new publisher. We've got a new author, Lucy Lord. Would love to send you a copy of our book. I was like, I've got loads, but send it anyway.
Amazon return, Amazon return.
So do you know what I was thinking when I asked you that question about selling it? I think it would become less about cooking, and it would become like a production thing, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like do you ever watch that thing with Greg Wallace where he goes in the factories and he's like how it's made kind of thing?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Where you go into like the Jaffa Cake factory and they'll show you how they make Jaffa cakes, and it's like industrial size fucking vats of loads of mad shit. You've never seen that show?
No, I haven't seen that show.
Yeah, if you want to be put off doing the thing that I said, watch that. Because it's mad.
Really?
Like, just the quantities are mad. It doesn't even look like cooking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, that, to me, I'm like, I get that. I get the industrial scale. I get the financial side behind that. But for me, it kind of loses touch with it being in the kitchen.
Some of the numbers blow your head off.
Yeah, I bet.
Some of the numbers, wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But for me, I'm like, I love when people say to me, like, oh, do you know what? I never used to go in the kitchen, or I was scared of food, for example, and relationship with food and that kind of stuff is something I'm really interested in as well. Yeah. And when people say, do you know what, I haven't actually made anything like this before, and I did, and I loved it, and just carving out that half an hour or 45 minutes for themselves. And there is something around going to the shops, getting the ingredients yourself, making it yourself, sitting down and eating it yourself, that just for me beats any
so I've got
sit down delivery.
I've got such a random question for you here. This is a very selfish question. How do you not eat the whole fucking thing?
So I used to sometimes, especially out of frustration, because I'd be like, this is shit. I'm not going to share this. I don't want to put it in the bin. And it would be like an easy, almost like alcohol, cigarettes, whatever, it would be like an easy thing to reach to. Yeah. But then it's kind of that realization that I could if I wanted to. Like, if I want to, I can. But what's going to come from that? I'm going to feel a bit shit for probably the rest of the day. I'm going to feel too full. I'm going to feel whatever. And so as soon as you allow yourself that, then the temptation to do it kind of drops.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I always used to be one of those people that's like, oh, I couldn't have peanut butter in the house because I smashed the whole thing. Like, I love it. I could drink peanut butter. I have done many times. Yeah. But then I kind of thought I'd do some work around that, because I'm like...
You just brushed over that. You said, I've drank peanut butter many times. Yeah. Then just brushed on. Like, that was a normal thing to do.
Well, a lot of people do it.
How do you actually do it?
Just open the jar, sit back, and like a beer. Like,
hang on, how thin is this peanut butter?
Gotta give it a good stir first.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. The viscosity of this peanut butter.
Give it a good stir. Make sure it's not the chunky stuff, because that's like cement. But yeah, no, lots of people do that, and lots of people are like, I can't.
I'm a binge eater.
Yeah, lots of people are like, I can't have whatever inside the house. Yeah. And for me, I'm like, I kind of went through that thing where you don't buy it so you don't keep it at the house.
Yeah, that's me.
Which I get. But then I'm like, but what happens if I, end up with a boyfriend who likes jars of peanut butter in the house? How am I then going to deal with it? What happens if
you're in a hotel with a mini bar?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so for me, it was always kind of a root cause. It was never the food. Yeah. It was always a root cause thing. It was frustration. It was not feeling good enough. It was whatever it was that would lead me to then do that, for example. And so... ironing out those problems, I'm like, I can keep whatever I want. And then suddenly I'm like, I don't even know if I like peanut butter. I don't even know if I like it.
Really?
Well,
I think that was just one of your things.
I do, but that's an example.
Not as much as you thought you did.
Not as much as I thought I did. Or there's things I'd buy and I'd be like, do you know, I've had a shit day. I'm going to buy. My thing always used to be caramel slices from Sainsbury's, for £2.50. And 36.
Wait until you hear this.
Go on.
Wait until you hear this. So at March, I'm running an event in a studio. And it's one of those things with a massive green screen where I can have, you might have seen the pictures where you can see all the Zoom cameras behind me.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you mean.
And so we ran this event, and Mac, we have a Greg's, what would I call it? Do you know you get like a Nike outlet where it sells all like, we have a Greg's outlet.
Does that even exist?
Oh yeah. And you know what he came back with? A bag, like a carrier bag full of, do you know the caramel squares from Greg's?
I know them very well.
All of the cut-offs of that. So you've got just the caramel, just the chocolate and caramel,
just the
crispy whole thing,
bits.
But mate, holy shit! Lesley was puking up after eating them. Yeah, but all three of them demolished them in about 20 minutes. It was the worst purchase that Mac has ever made for the office.
That was,
but also simultaneously the best.
Yeah. So they used to be my thing.
So there's another random fact about South Shield. Yeah. So caramel slices.
So they used to be my thing. And then once I'd kind of ironed over that, because it's getting, I'm like, I can't cook for a career. This was like 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was like, I can't keep doing this and even think about it as being a career or even more than a hobby if I'm personally struggling with those kind of things. So
Don't you get like some people cook? By some people, I mean me. I'll sometimes cook something and half it'll be gone by the time it's finished.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And again, I used to do that, like baking a cake, and you kind of end up, if you're making like 12 fairy cakes and you end up with 6, you're like, how did that happen? And you're like, well, I've started now, so I might as well just polish it off.
Yeah.
But then again, when you're like, I could do that if I wanted to, it kind of takes away the temptation to even do it. It's like, I could sit down here and eat the entire thing. Am I going to feel great? No. Why am I going to do it then? Oh, because I'm feeling a bit shit about myself. Why am I feeling shit about myself? And then just kind of why, covering down. And it's got nothing to do with the food ever.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I did yesterday? This is... This is totally left field, but it's about food. Yesterday, I stood in M&M's world. Did you know that was a thing?
I knew it existed.
It's fucking 4 stories high. Fucking sweets.
Yeah.
Right? And I stood in a queue for an hour and a half so Max could get his picture of his face printed on loads of M&M's.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. So you had to choose 3 things.
Yeah.
You could have a photo, a phrase, and like a kind of a logo kind of thing. So you had his face, Max the man, right? Max the man, and the Queen's corgi. What the fuck? So yeah, there you go. That's interesting, isn't it?
And how many do you have left of them?
Well, all of them.
Yeah.
He's
saved them.
He's had one of each. He said, "Dad, I'm never going to eat these." I was like, I bet you do.
That's what they're there for, isn't it?
He left a little note on top of them last night, a little post-it note.
Dad, get off.
Dad, do not eat the sweets. He's done that before. Dad, do not eat the sweets. Because my thing is, if I can't sleep, I get up and eat. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether it's Nina's. Even if it's got a sign on it, sometimes I'm going to eat it.
If it's Santa's, I'm stealing it.
Oh, and she'll kick off the next morning.
I bet.
She'll kick off the next morning. Well, I'll just buy another one.
Oh, but
then she's like, Dad, that's not the same, and that's not the solution to your problem. Dad, you've got a problem. That's all she always ever says about that.
I love that.
So, how did the book deal thing happen?
So the book deal came around.
Was that a surprise? Was it?
It was. Yeah. Someone put it to me. Luke put it to me and was like, "Hey, like you do this. You're really good at it. You obviously love it. Have you ever thought of?" He thinks big picture,
mate.
I know, it's scary, isn't it? He thinks...
when it came to this event thing that I'm doing, right? I said, mate, shall I just book like a hotel, like a conference room? You'll have been to them before in the conference room. He said, I'm not doing Paul Mort at the fucking Marriott. He said, if you're going to fucking do it, we're going to do it properly. So I was like, I thought I was doing all right. And I thought I knew a bit about business. But then he said that and I was like, holy shit, I better stop being a pussy.
Yeah.
And even launching it, I put it off by like 3 weeks. I procrastinated on something for the first time in years because it's a big fucking deal. Was there a little bit of shit in your pants on your thing?
Oh, je suis shit in mes pantalons.
Oh, no parle-vous le français. Sacre bleu.
Yeah, because I think when someone takes a future, like, those snow globes, someone takes what could be a future and shakes it up and shows you it from what they see. Yeah. You look at it and you're like, are you mental? You've been eating those Paul Mort brownies. Like, no one's ever going to buy.
You've been in my veterinary supplies briefcase.
Yeah, like no one's ever going to buy a book from me.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't anything other than just a suggestion.
Didn't you turn around quite fast though, right?
What, turn the book around?
I thought you turned the whole thing around really fast.
Yeah, considering I was working a full-time job and had no idea about it.
Considering you were, from like announcing you were doing a book to it being published to it fucking smashing it, like that seemed like quite a quick thing.
Yeah, I mean, so the suggestion was over 2 years ago now, and then it was kind of, and my response was, mate, I'd love not a chance. I didn't even have a website at the time. Yeah, I was like, not a chance. I was making recipes on Instagram. Might have had like 8,000 followers. Can't remember.
Yeah. You said not a chance.
And no, I was screenshotting recipes, putting them on like those highlight sticker things. Yes. And I felt like such a moron for doing that because I was like, no one's going to make my banana bread. No one gives a shit about my banana bread that I've painstakingly made for about 16 days until I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
And then, so I knew I was making them. So as it kind of went down and the idea started to grow, it started bouncing between different publishers, and a few of the big ones really liked it. And so I thought, fuck me, maybe they're as pissed as he is.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I might as well.
Yeah.
I had like a fleck of self-belief, a tiny fleck, and I thought, I might as well see what comes out of this.
And I bet Luke didn't just leave it at one message. I bet he was on you.
Oh, yeah. He was like, he keeps a lot of these ideas to himself. He's like, I'm not going to tell you because I know that it will scare you. So even to this day, I don't know how many copies it's sold. I have no idea. No idea. Never asked him, and he's never told me. And I don't want to know because I'm like, if I know, then what? How is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. As long as they turn around and they're like, we're happy, you've done a good job. I'm like, that's me done. I'm happy with that. I don't care about the rest of it.
That is mad. So you didn't do all the photos on that, did you? Someone else did.
No, I didn't. Yeah, so we got someone else in, someone who was really good at doing the photos. But in the meantime, I was getting really into my food photography, and that, like, I was there for the shoots because I got stuck it was all shot in London, and I got stuck in the UK last year for 8 months during COVID. So I was still working on Sydney time.
You just brought up something that I want to ask you
about. I was still working in Sydney time.
Yes.
At this full-time job, and then during the day, so I was working through the night, and then during the day.
Oh shit! So you had to do that?
Yeah. I had to still get paid. Yeah.
Oh wow! No, but you had to do it on their time.
Yeah. Still on their time. Yeah, that was my kind of thing. It was like, oh, I've ended up over here stuck. How can I make this work whilst I'm really trying to get back to Australia? And they were like, do you know what? You've worked really hard. And I did work really hard. I was doing a real good job for them. I was making them a lot of money. And so they're like, we want to keep you. So what works for you? And I was like, right, well, 2 a.m. until 7 a.m. or whatever it is works for me.
No way. Jeez.
Yeah. And then I was doing book stuff during the day.
I feel really bad that I didn't know about this now.
Yeah, well, not many people did because I didn't tell anyone at the time that I was making the book. So the book was announced in December. I'd been working on it for about 18 months before. So I didn't tell anyone, and the company that I was working for didn't know about the book because they were like, obviously, they'd be like, we want all of your attention on this job. So they didn't know about the book until it came out.
I mean the 2 a.m. till 7 a.m. thing.
Yeah,
how was that?
That was horrific.
Yeah.
It was horrific.
I used to work night shifts and I fucking hated them.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
We haven't have conversations and shit as well.
Yeah, on Zoom. Yeah, and I was like, do you know what? I'm in the UK. I'm turning up in my pajamas. I don't care. I'm turning up in my pajamas. I'm here to do the job.
Fucking hell.
That's fine.
I'm thinking about that right now and it's giving me nightmares.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant. Yeah. But it's almost
Could you sleep during the day in that?
I'm not very good at sleeping.
No, me neither. I'm awful at it.
Yeah, so I couldn't really. So I was heavily propped up on caffeine, which again I'm not great at. I'm like a 2 coffee person, and after that I start to get the jitters and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was heavily propped off on caffeine.
So mate, I can't believe I didn't know that you were working from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m.
And I tried to not post about it too much because I know that a lot of people were in a worse situation than me last year.
Especially in that lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas for me, it was kind of working for me because I was like, none of my mates are out getting pissed, tempting me at the weekend to go and get pissed. So I thought I'm in a self-imposed lockdown in my house. I didn't see anyone for months. I just was in my own little, and I could not have been happier. I was in my own little creative bubble.
You weren't in Cheltenham then?
I was in Cheltenham, yeah. So I came back. So I have a place in Cheltenham that was rented out, and my tenants moved out just before I moved back.
Yeah.
And so rather than renting it out, I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like I'm going to get stuck here. Kind of knew that I'd be stuck over in the UK for a bit. So I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. I'm going to get stuck here. So my place was kind of part furnished. And I thought, I'm not going to furnish it fully because I'm just going to be here for 2-3 months and then I'll piss back off to Sydney 8 months later. So I wrote the entire book on the floor of my living room.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow, that's mad. And what was your feels like when it was launched and that? Was there a bit of there must have been a bit of panic.
Yeah, and it wasn't
not panic.
It wasn't panic. It was that sick, nauseous feeling of like you being like, would you go on camera and do this face on kind of stuff? It's just that nauseous feeling where it makes me feel really uncomfortable because you feel a bit exposed. Like all of your flaws are about to be exposed. And I still haven't, the book's been out for 3 months, I think. I still haven't picked up a copy and fully flicked through it.
Have you looked at the reviews?
I haven't spent time scrolling on the reviews.
Have you not?
You
can kind of see the stars.
So when I go into amazon.co.uk, whatever it is, to copy the link to do a swipe up, I can see the stars. I can see the top kind of comments.
Yes.
I don't sit through and read through them.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I don't anymore.
I don't read through them. But do you know what? If someone said something really good, I mean, that's great. And if someone said something really bad, it's not anything that I haven't thought myself, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So one of the biggest reasons why I never wanted to really push social media or that kind of stuff is because I was like, oh, I'm quite shy. I'm quite an introvert. I'm quite shy by nature.
Mm-hmm.
I much prefer being in the shadows
Mm-hmm.
and just being quiet and just not,
Mm-hmm.
just being quite silent.
Yeah.
And it held me back from doing a lot of stuff because I thought, I don't want to be on their stories. I don't want to post on my stories. I
Yes.
just want to be quiet. But then I thought, how am I going to share this thing that I love, this passion that I have, and I think other people might love as well, without doing that? And the biggest reason for me was other people are going to tear me down. Yeah. And especially because I've got friends who are quite controversial in their world and I've seen them be torn down. Yeah. And I'm like, Janet's going to come at me saying that I'm, fat and ugly and can't make banana bread. I said, that'd break me. Yeah. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, do you know what? There's nothing that anyone could say that I've not said about myself and tenfold worse.
I feel the same way.
So I'm like, I just stopped caring. And so if there's a 1 star, I'm like, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's not for me. I'm sure there's lots of other things that are.
Yeah. I
So,
love that.
and that's just kind of taking the sting out of it a little bit.
Yeah. I love that because, do you know, one thing that I feared because I'd done a couple of books self-published before. And one thing with the thing that I did with Harper was, I was like, shit, people can actually leave a review and I can't just block and delete them. Do you know what I mean? Because that's an easy thing to do. And then I realized that anything I've ever done, and this is not many people talk about this, but all of the things that I've ever done that I had a fear about, the fear kind of came true anyway. So everyone's like, when you start doing these daily emails, you're probably going to get negative feedback and you're going to get people unsubscribe. And then I was like, I probably get 1,000 unsubscribes a week, right? Same happened with my book. Oh, I don't know whether I put that book out because I'll get these 1-star reviews. And I did. And one thing I can tell you about, I didn't know whether I launch this podcast in case I got shit reviews or someone left a nasty comment on YouTube, or there's some mad comments you get, like people are like, oh, I hate his accent. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is the way that I fucking talk. Do you know what I mean? You get some random reviews. And I'm like, with all of that shit, one thing is for sure, it actually happening is never as bad as thinking about it happening. Yeah. And like, you're not gonna die. Yeah. A 1-star review, I don't know anyone that's died of a 1-star review. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's mad that people, you got to think about this, Lucy, right? There's so many people who are not living lives that they really want to live because they're worried about what someone might think. That was me. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and that was it. It was like, I'm ticking all of these boxes that societal measures would say is the correct thing to do. And I'm staying quiet, I'm staying shy. I can't remember who said it. It's Artisol, I think, but it's like, if you want to achieve nothing, then say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. Yeah. And I think it's one of the Stoics, maybe Marcus Aurelius, who kind of had this thing where he started his day and he was like, before I start my day, I know people will let me down. I know people will piss me off. I know somebody will anger me. I know somebody will lie to me. I know somebody will be malicious to me. And once I've accepted that, the rest of the day is easy. Yeah. And kind of getting more into that, and the more I was reading that and reading those kind of books and starting to really apply it to my own life, I thought, you know what? They're not wrong. These people, they're not wrong. And I did a little chapter in James's newest book, in the blue cover book. And it was kind of
it's called Not a Life Coach.
and it was, it's right there. And it was on like fear setting and stopping our brains from going on this snowball of what's wrong, what if, and just being like, oh, but what happens if it works out? And what's the worst thing that can happen? And you really,
I love that question.
Yeah, you sit down and
no
you
one everyone
think
really
about
wants
it.
to talk about it, but I'm like, what did we call it? Like, play the whole thing out, take it to the end.
Yeah, write it down.
What's the worst that can happen? You have to move back in with your mum.
Yeah, and is that bad?
My mum wouldn't let me move. I'd have to live in a fucking hostel or something because my mum's not letting me back in. Fucking no chance.
But that's it. It's to sit down and really, rather than kind of have that thought and cast it aside and be like, oh, that's horrendous, and then keep.
I think there's power in writing shit down.
There is.
Me.
Oh,
like,
there
I'm
is.
like, there's no. You're a journaler, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't.
Do you read them back?
Every day.
Do you?
Oh, every day.
Do you
I
read
journal in
back
a slightly. I'm not a kind of Dear Diary big paragraph journaler where you have like prompted journaling. So I just have these questions
like
every day. Bullet point journaling.
Yeah.
When I journal, I'm just answering questions really. What was the biggest insight I learned today? What could I have handled better? What went really well? Who did I impact in a positive way? How do I want to feel when I wake up tomorrow? So I do a morning questions and then I do nighttime review.
Amazing.
And I read them back all the time. Yeah.
That's
It's
sick.
very, it's
I
a
never
very
read
interesting
mine back.
experience. Do you not?
No, I used to. And
Yeah.
then I'd be like, part of me would, I mean, I'd read that. I'd be like, she needs fucking help was my first thought. But then I'd read it and I'd be like, I'm not living there anymore. So in a way, it was quite nice to read it back and be like, oh, you know, I felt like that then, or I was struggling with this then, and now I'm no longer. Now I have new struggles, new whatever. But I've stopped reading them back. I just
Do you know it's an
recycle them
interesting
after now.
thing you say. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, that.
Yeah.
Because one, you can see how far you've come, but I think sometimes people make decisions that's based on a previous version of them. They'll be like, I remember when I first started doing this coaching thing with Unstartable, it was 2016 or 2017. I had this belief that because I'd had a meltdown a couple of years before, I was like, if I build this big, massive business up again, I won't be able to handle it. But that belief was based on who I was fucking 2 years previously. So it is a double-edged sword, that looking back thing, I think, innit?
Yeah, so I don't, but I'm always interested. I love hearing how other people do it, because when I was first recommended, all these people do this shit like journaling and meditation and
I used to take the piss out of all of it, me.
I used to think, and I still sometimes there's still a little bit of me that's just like, that's a load of wank.
Yeah.
And whenever
fucking
I
hippie
think,
bullshit.
whenever I think that, I'm like, okay, let's challenge it, let's try it, and I'll do it, and I'll be like, oh, actually, I can see that.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes, Lucy, the whole mocking thing, that is, we often mock things that it's because really we don't understand them, right?
100%.
Because we don't get them.
Yeah, 100%.
It's easy to take the piss out of things you don't get. Rather than saying, oh, I don't understand that, it's easy. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
What do you do that for?
Everything is, I think, is a mirror. And I shared Carl Jung. Have you heard of Carl Jung?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I shared one of his quotes yesterday, which was like, understanding your own darkness is how you deal with other people's darkness. And I really, when I come across things or situations with people where I feel like that, where I'm like, that sounds like a heap of shit, or if there's any jealousy or anger there or anything like that, it's never ever them, and it's always me
all the time. Everyone's just a mirror of everyone's just a mirror of us.
The world is not as it is, it's how we see it.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah. And so when I've kind of started to understand that, you know, if someone's doing the funky chicken in the morning at 7 o'clock and it makes them feel great, I'm like, good for you. Like, good for you, Paul. I'm glad you've got that. I couldn't
resist. I don't even know what the funky chicken is. Is it literally just walking around flapping your wings?
Yeah, I think it's a dance.
Oh, is it the thing with your leg?
I don't really know. Darren's quite good at it.
Max demonstrating it now.
Yeah, that's the one.
Darren's good at all the dancing.
Exactly.
He is good at all the dancing.
But yeah, if someone said that's good for them, I'm like, that's amazing. And I think it all kind of, again, comes back to what's good for us as individuals. Because if I look at all the people who I love and I look at their morning routines, I think it's Tim Ferriss's Tribe of Mentors, where he goes into all the people he's had his podcast and what's your morning routine is his favorite thing. And if I think of like, oh, Paul Mort, you know, all these kind of people who I admire, if I start trying to implicate their morning routines like for like, not only one is it taking me 5 fucking hours that I don't have, but 2, they might not be like that for me. It might not, like a cold shower in the morning might not be great for me. I might feel real shit after it, but I'm doing it because everyone else is.
I remember Smith did something, he posted about cold baths and cold showers and that, and everyone was like, have you and James fell out? I'm like, no, he just doesn't like cold things. I do. I was like, yeah, you sure you haven't fell out? We're getting tagged in each other's shit. I was like, what? He just doesn't like something that I do?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that's it. And there's loads of things that, you know, he loves that you won't like, but they're good for him, and whatever you do is good for you. So I'm really big into curating a life or a morning routine or whatever it is that feels good for you, or you feel, you know, really works for you.
Do you know what? Do you know what you're saying? That I had this discussion the other day with somebody. I was like, I must have spent the first 2 or 3 years of coaching people, doing what I do now, trying to force people to do what I thought they should do, or what I wanted them to do, or my morning routine. And I was like, do you know what? Like, just create something that you're most likely to do. Put things in that don't require motivation, and get people like, how'd you get out of bed in the morning? I'm like, I make the first couple of things in the morning, things that I fucking love doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, things that
like
light
my
you
morning
up.
routine I shouldn't need motivation to do it. I should get excited to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like working out hard in the morning. I get up and train jiu-jitsu if I have to, but even then, I'm like, ugh. I'd rather have me cold shower, do me journaling, do me breathing, do me like a slow start, and then go to work. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're right, so many people try and, it's like square pegs in round holes, isn't it?
It's just a cookie cutter.
I hate weight training. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you got to do weight. I'm like, I fucking hate this, picking things up and putting them back down. I can't think of anything more fucking brain numbing than picking a bar off the ground and then putting it back down for with no purpose to
Yeah.
it. But some people, my wife's one of them, fucking love it.
Yeah. And that's it. I'm like, do things that really light you up, challenge you. It's like, I don't love going to yoga in the morning, but I do it pretty much every morning because I love the results that it gets for my mental.
What do you like? What's your favorite pose in yoga?
Oh, I don't know if I have a fit. I fucking hate them all.
I should hope you don't mind a down dog though.
No, I don't mind down. No, I like
by the way, how horrible are them first fucking few? What's that flow thing called?
Yeah, vinyasa flow.
Vinyasa
that's
flow,
my
right?
favorite. Yeah.
How hard are them first few on your wrists?
They're hard. Yeah,
I'm like, I feel like
hard.
I've never done it before.
I know.
Even I remember a couple of years ago, I got actually in the first lockdown, I did a 20-minute flow every morning for about 10 weeks. Me and Lesley, every single morning. We did like something like 70 days uninterrupted, maybe even more. But every morning I did it, I was like, fucking hell, I feel like a newborn giraffe. Like, I'm like, have I done this before? Your body's like, have you done this before? For the first few minutes, innit? Your wrists and that. I'm like, fuck.
I've done it 7 years and I still feel
it's
like
mad,
that in the morning.
My favourite one is where you get it. I think it's called a yogi squat.
Yeah.
Like, I love where you push your elbows and you do that with your hands. And like, I love that one. Then you go up onto your toes.
Yes.
Is that a yogi squat?
Yeah, that's a yogi
That's
squat.
my favourite yogi thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's poses that I love, poses that I hate, but it goes on a journey. Like it changes over time. Ones that I used to love, I now hate, and ones that I hate and I love. Yeah, the more time I spend on them, and for me, it's just a reflection of the things that the aspects that I am in my characteristics, like things that show up my frustration, or like, oh, I'm no good at that, so I'm not going to do it. And then this other voice pops into my head. It's like, if you're not good at it, then why not?
There's only one way to get better.
Exactly. The only way to is through.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why not try it? And then those ones like handstands or any inversions, I now love. Whereas I used to hate them because I'm not very good at them.
Yeah.
But then I don't think anyone has started and been very good at them.
Yeah. So we hate yoga, but every time we
love to hate yoga.
Well, what's interesting is we don't like it, but every time you spoke about it, you're quite passionate about it.
Yeah, I love to hate it because it brings out all of the not very nice things that you usually try. It's like meditation. I fucking hate meditation. I can't think of anything worse than sitting for half an hour inside my own mind. Yeah. But I've done it for the last 7 years and I love it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's mad, but it's those kind of things which is, it's easier to not do them. Yeah. But is it good for me long term? Probably not. Yeah. It's easier for me to still be in Sydney.
Talk about meditation. What's your go-to meditation thing? Like, where did you learn about meditation? What do you like? What benefits you get from? I get asked that every day. I'm like, dude, just fucking go on Google. There's so many.
There's so many. Yeah, there's so many. So I was recommended it actually by a doctor. I was picking up a repeat prescription for antidepressants about 8 years ago. And I was chatting to him about sleep. And I was on all of the sleep medications, which I was using and abusing, and anxiety medications, antidepressants. SSRIs, and I was chatting to this young kind of
Don't
GP.
forget the ketamine.
wasn't doing
Don't
that.
forget the horse tranquilizer.
and then the doctor was chatting to me about an app called Headspace, and this was in 2014, so this is just as it came out. Yeah. And she said it can help you with your sleep, and so I started with that. And I thought, this is a load of wank.
Yeah, that guy's fucking voiced his head in after that.
Andy Puddicombe, though, I love him. I'm obsessed with him now.
Do you know what?
You should.
I hate to interrupt this story, right? But I got to the point, back then was when I first started. I must have done about 3 months on that app. I was like, I'm fucking sick of this guy's voice.
Right? I love him.
But then last year he brought that thing out on Netflix. Yeah. And I was like, geez, he brought the guide out on Netflix and I'm started pointing at everyone towards, just watch that. Yeah. Just watch that guide because he explains it so fucking well.
The way he's done it and his story, he's been on a few good podcasts.
But he covers his story in there is fucking unbelievable.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable. And so that's how I started. Yeah. And then I just kind of carried on doing that. And I started to feel benefits, but nothing like that tangible. But I was doing it inconsistently.
It's a funny thing in it as well, though, because you're like, how do you know it's working?
Exactly, because it's not like an instant gratification stuff that we have nowadays. It's not even like go to the gym and maybe a month later, if you've been training 4 days a week, it's a little bit of a difference. It's not even that. It's nothing that you can physically see, really. Yeah. And so I found it quite difficult. And because a lot of my lifestyle habits hadn't changed around, like I was still going on benders every weekend, I was still smoking loads, I was still just partying way too much. I could see benefits, but like they were kind of like, because they're not great and bold and like everyone speaks about. I'm not fucking floating when I wake up. I'm still going to just half-arse it.
Yes.
And then I went to Sydney and got introduced to Transcendental meditation or TM.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that this is what you did.
So
who else does TM?
I went on a week's retreat where you kind of get your mantra and you do all that stuff. That was about 5 years ago. And then I've done loads of stuff from then, but now I don't really have anything. I don't call it anything now. I used to do the very strict 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon mantra. And now I just do, I think it's just known as Vipassana meditation.
Yeah. So are you not mantraing anymore?
I'm not mantraing anymore.
Are you not?
No.
Jeez.
No, because I mean, sometimes I go back to it.
It kind of gets a bit parrot fashion, doesn't it?
For me, there was a big discussion with a lady called Tara Brock, who's amazing, who's a meditator. I don't know what her label is, but she was kind of very much like, it's great, but it costs $1,000 to get your mantra, whatever shit it is, and it's a very kind of elitist introduction into meditation. And I thought, you know what?
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that. But there is when you exchange financials on things, there is that
skin in the game, innit?
There's skin in the game. There's that added commitment to it.
Yeah.
And so there was that, but also I tend to be one of those kind of all or nothing personalities. And so if I couldn't, for whatever reason, fit in those 20 minutes twice a day, I'd be like,
just fuck it off.
I'd be like, you're such a fucking dickhead, Lucy. You're so lazy. You're such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
No wonder you hate yourself in your life. And I just kind of thought like, oh, maybe that's a bit extreme. And so I thought, I'm going to take all the pressure off and I'm just going to go back to what I know, which is just sitting for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes and just sitting there and being, and I found that really difficult. And so I've continued to do that. But I'm not against TM or anything.
Because I get asked quite a lot, like, how do you meditate?
Yeah.
How do you meditate?
And
you must get asked that as well.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing if you're doing TM. It's like, well, you pay this fella down the road $1,000 and he gives you a word. And he gives you a word.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And that you soon realize everyone else has the similar word and they all... Yeah, so they do it based on what year you were born and whether you're male or female. And so I could, if someone teles me when they started
I feel like
meditate,
you're giving us the keys. I don't know whether I want to hear this or not.
And I'm like,
I feel
can Google it.
Do you know when like you have a conversation that you're not sure whether you want to have? Like, this is one of them. Like, are you going to tell me like how babies are made or something?
Well, it's like how Jaffa cakes were made. Now I'm turning it around to you, Paul.
Oh shit!
This is how your mantra was
given. So the storks don't really bring babies, Dad. Wait, me and Nina had this conversation the other day. She went, Dad, how are you, my dad?
Oh.
She said, I know how Mum's me mum because I came out of her vagina.
Yeah.
But how are you, me dad? Is it because you fell in love with Mum? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Something like that.
So you have to finish this now. So I'm in. You have to finish the whole TM thing.
So they just base it off of what year you were born, what year you learned to meditate, I think. I mean, there's like 80 different mantras or sounds. There's 80.
I feel a little bit better now.
Something like that.
I haven't lost all of the sponsorship from TM yet.
Yeah, so there's something like 80, whatever number it is.
Yeah.
But you're not the only one given this sacred sound.
Yes.
And my TM teacher is really, really well known in Sydney for the practice that he does. And he openly said that. Yeah. And he said, but that's not why people are doing it. They're, you're doing it because there's a whole heritage behind it, a whole lineage behind it. You've got to put a financial figure.
And I think it's I actually think it's a great place for people to start.
Yeah.
Probably after guided meditation.
Yeah. I would always say
I'm like guided meditation, mantra.
Yeah.
And then do your own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Or figure out, just try different things. There's a guy called, I think it's the meditation guy on Instagram who I love to follow. And he went and tried 10, 12 different ones. He's come back to the mantra version. Maybe I will come back to it.
Really? That's interesting. Well, I started with something called ascension meditation.
Yeah, I've heard of
which is with the Yeshayas.
Yes.
And that's 4 mantras. And then I only did TM in January and I've been meditating since 2014.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is just
same. It's probably you and Andy on the same time.
It's like the same thing with just one mantra instead of 4. I just attach less. I think the great thing about those Sanskrit words is that you don't attach You don't try I. You don't
Mm.
attach meaning to them, so you don't question them, and it's just like this weird word that you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, sometimes they'll just use a word that's good for them, like bagels or whatever it is, or, something.
Curries.
Yeah.
Curries.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a word. I don't have a sound now.
Yeah.
Occasionally I dip my toe back into
And
it.
didn't you do a bit of teaching or guiding stuff with Darren?
No. Oh my gosh. No. So I introduced Darren to meditation. He came to Sydney early in the year for 3 months.
Yeah.
And he was living next door to me on this beautiful, beautiful spot on North Bondi Beach.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, look, what are we doing tomorrow morning? Like, we're going for breakfast, we doing whatever. And I was like, well, generally, this is what I do. And he was like, meditation, yeah, gas, bro. I'll give it literally, like, used to take the piss out of it.
Mark, can you make sure we use this one for the highlight videos
gas,
that we do? Let's
bro.
do that one. Gas, bro.
And he was like, yeah, you know what he's like? And I love him because he is so open to this. He's like, yeah, fuck, I'll do it. I don't care. I'll do it, bro.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like 5:30, we'll wake up, we'll go. I've got this beautiful spot on the rocks, see the sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, all right, no, exactly. He was like, what do I do? And I explained it to him, and we put the timer on. I think I was like, I'll just introduce him at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, that's about like an hour. I hated that.
Really?
I hated that. Yeah. But then he's that kind of inquisitive person. We came back again and again, and then just loved it to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can be asked today, Darren. And he'd be like, come on, cuz.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, cuz.
And then, he's just so open and forward with these things that he was like, how long have you been doing this? I was like, maybe 8 years. And he's like, have you ever like taught anyone how to do it? I was like, no, not just you really. And he's like, I'm going to go on Instagram Live and get 500 people. And I was like, and then sometimes I'll watch him and he'll be like, invite
Really,
Lucy.
is he?
And then he'll be like, Lucy, I see you there. And I'm like, fucking hell, I'm sat in my dressing gown, like with my glasses on, just got out of bed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, accountability, give less shits what other people think. I'm like, accept, got snot in my face.
Shit,
I'm like, hi,
really?
guys. Yeah.
And I'm going to sit there with my eyes closed.
Yeah. With other people probably typing, being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But that's fine.
It's mad. I heard a story the other day about, when the fuck was this? I heard a story. Actually, it was we had a guy on Friday at a ladies' event. We did the fire walking thing.
I saw it, yeah.
We did the arrow breaking thing. And the guy was saying he did this experience where, and I just thought this was a great analogy to use for this. He did this experience where he was at a party and they were playing music really loud. It was probably fucking rave music or something with MCs and that, right? And
I was probably there.
he said they had to dance, but everyone had blindfolds on. And I'm like, that's such a cool way to think about. If you're worried about what people think all the time, it's like they're worried about what you're thinking at the same time they're worried about what everybody else is thinking.
The thing that I've come to realize is no one really gives a shit about what you're doing. Like
not as much as we think they do.
Not as much as they think they do.
Yeah.
It's like most people, what's the saying? It's like not a lot of people want you to do well. Yeah. And it's like those who do are so few. It's like they really don't.
Yeah. And I think that, do you know what I had this conversation a while ago as well, where I said, somebody right now is sitting in a job that they hate, or they're sitting at home and they want to do it, but they're scared of what you think. Like, and are you thinking about them? Like, no. I was like, that's how fucking mad it is, isn't it? Talk to me about reading, because you brought it up. You're a big reader, right? I
feel like there's a theme here. Again, I don't love it, but it's good for me, so I do it.
It's mad, isn't it?
I never think like, oh, do you know what? I just want to tuck into a book for half an hour.
Yeah.
I never think that.
So is it part of your ritual routine?
Yeah, it tends to be. Yeah, it tends to be. Again, like I try and keep more of a baggy routine nowadays, because when I kept a
what?
A baggy routine. You can use that. What's wrong with a baggy routine?
I love it so much. I am actually going to use it
because
a baggy routine.
Yeah, because I feel like if you have a really strict routine, then inevitably life gets in the way and you fuck up. And you
bin the whole thing off.
Well, my self-talk is like, you piece of shit. Yeah. Where do you think you're going to get when you're binning off 20 minutes of meditation in the morning because there was an emergency?
Means you like variety, right?
Exactly.
You and I'm the same with. You know, a lot of people crave certainty. Like, I like uncertainty. I like variety.
Yeah.
Like, I like to mix. I think you call it mixing it up.
That makes me feel really uncomfortable, which is why I'm trying to practice it more.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I like a color-coded spreadsheet.
Oh, do you?
What I'm doing. Yeah. Like a color-coded spreadsheet.
Shit.
I like set times. I like to arrive half an hour early.
Well, I did notice you in the park. That's why I texted you. But I was also lost, so I didn't.
You were like, hey, mate, ready to go? And I was like, I've been here half an hour because I don't want to be late. So I'm still like that in some ways.
Yeah.
But I found when I had a really set morning routine or evening routine or fucking whatever
unnecessary pressure in it sometimes.
Yeah, and it just didn't help my own self-talk and how I dealt with myself.
Yeah.
So as now I'm trying to be a bit more like kick with the wind.
Yeah.
It makes me feel really uncomfortable, but at the same time, I'm like, it allows me so much more freedom.
Yeah.
And so with books and such, it's not something that I love to do, but it's something that like it's really good for me. I feel like I gather a lot from it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make the space, and I'll try and be like, okay, roughly half an hour a day. If it's 45, it's no better, no worse.
Yeah.
If it's 15 minutes, it's no better, no worse. It just is what it is.
Yeah. What are you reading?
At the moment, I'm reading Jim Quick's Limitless.
Okay.
Have you read that?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those books where I keep hearing it to the point that I'm like, fucking all right, sounds like shit.
Yeah,
I'll give it a go.
Yeah. And are you reading fiction as well, you?
I'm trying to get more into fiction. I feel really guilty when I read fiction because I'm like, I'm wasting time. I could be working on my own self.
Do you know, if I had one of those things, you know, when you say, here's some things you don't know about me, people wouldn't believe. If I said how many fiction books I've read in my life.
How many have you read in your life?
I would say.
I think I'm on 3 or 4.
I'd be on about 400.
Yeah.
400.
What? So you like it?
Yeah.
Really?
A lot of people don't know that about me.
No, I didn't know that.
I've read hundreds of fiction books.
What is it
all
about
Harry
fiction?
Potters.
I only just watched Harry Potter this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. They've got there's a new thing at the National History Museum. I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that big a fan yet, but give me time.
That's mad. And what's even madder is I worked in a gym at the time when I read that.
Really?
And the gym was in a place called Harrogate.
Yes, no, Harrogate.
I must have been the youngest person living there.
Yeah.
And it was like a corporate gym that the Sky Sports News staff. And it was so dead so people came in before work, after work. I read all the Harry Potter books while I worked there. What else have I done? All of the fucking, what's that one with the vampire?
Oh, Twilight.
I've read all them.
Yeah, see, I've
read all the Maze Runners. I've read all of them teenage Divergent and all them teenage things.
No, I didn't pick up a book until I was 25, I think.
Shit, really?
Yeah.
Really?
25. And I picked up a book, and it was a friend recommended it to me. It was Susan Jeffers' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Really? That's a killer book.
It's really, I need to read it again because I've got new eyes now. So I see the world differently. So I need to read it again.
I've read 2 books recently.
Yeah.
That were exactly the same as that.
Ones?
I read The Disciplined Pursuit of Less.
Okay.
What's that called again?
I don't know.
Greg McKeown. I always forget.
I know which one you mean.
What's the proper name of it? Essentialism.
Essentialism. Yeah, I read that one.
I read it in 2014 and hated it.
Oh, did you?
I read it again this year and loved it.
Yeah, I liked it. And
then another book I read in 2015 that I fucking hated, and I tried to listen to the audiobook 100 times. It's called The Way of the Superior Man, right?
No.
By David Data. It's so fucking weird, but I started reading it again last month and I love it again.
Do you?
It's so weird that. And another book I read in a guy called Jeff Thompson, I've had him on the podcast. He wrote a book called Warrior. And I read it in 2014, but I was off me fucking lips in 2014. I can't remember most of that year. And I read that again last year, and I was like, it felt like I'd read a completely different book.
That's what I'm.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what
I'm very
I'm
ready buying
finding.
new books now.
It's frustrating because I'm like, I've read maybe say 200 books. There's 200 books on my want to read list, but now I'm going through the ones I've already read, and then new books to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna have to start carving out, a fucking hour here in my baggy routine.
Yeah, in your baggy routine, I love that. I am legit stealing the baggy routine.
I love it. I love it because there's no pressures. You can't hate yourself.
Yeah.
I have this real bad habit of hating myself.
Do you know that want to read thing?
I need to read?
Does that
want to read?
No, you know what you just said? They're on my want to read list.
Yes.
Does that mean you use Goodreads?
I do use Goodreads. Are we not Goodreads friends?
No, we're not.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else. I can't believe I've just admitted that either.
Yeah, I love a good read.
Do you know what I was saying about the fiction things? Because I didn't tell anyone that I read books until about.
Are you under a secret profile?
I'm kind of am I? No, I don't know. I'm a secret profile. But it's funny on Goodreads. None of these personal development books would be on there. I don't think
they're all on there.
They're not. Like, they wouldn't be on my account as I've read them.
Oh, see, that's why, because people kept asking me, what books are you reading? What books do you love?
Yeah.
And I thought there must be a way other than the notes app on my phone to start recording these. Yeah. So I had a quick Google. I was like, there's this bloody app. It's called Goodreads. Sounds like a load of wank. So I'll download it. Yeah. And it's brilliant. And
it is so cool.
And it starts to...
you set those reading challenges.
Yeah, the reading challenges. And it starts to push towards books that you...
Yes.
based on your bookshelf, what you might like. And there's a couple in there that I've been like, oh, actually, my mate told me about that the other year. You know, when you would get advice
Yes.
and it doesn't stick until you're ready to hear it.
Yes.
You know, and you can try and force people to do it. It doesn't stick until you need to read
Yes.
it or need to hear it. And it's the same with books. Like I'll be, flicking through my Goodreads app and it'll be like, oh, Ryan Holiday, Ego's the Enemy. I'm like, oh, shit.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's like those things that you were saying when we were talking about things that make you uncomfortable. Like they'll keep appearing again and again.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like, maybe there's something.
I think it's.
I keep hearing about. Everyone's talking about journaling. Everyone's talking about meditation.
I know.
Everyone's talking about this fucking jujitsu thing.
Yeah. I think
I
it's
mean?
Peter Crone who says, life will keep presenting you with people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free.
Oh,
and
nice.
I love that because it's like the people who always end up in relationships where they end up cheating or they end up getting cheated on. And it's like, it's nothing to do with the relationship and it's everything to do with...
Well, they just have the same relationship but with other people.
Exactly. And they're expecting the same things. It's like the same mind that gets you in the problem can't then solve it.
I get asked that about jobs all the time. I get asked, I would say, every other day.
Yeah.
I've got a job. It makes me unhappy. Should I leave? I'm like, you need to check that it's not it, that it's actually the job.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to take you to a different job and blame the job again.
Same problems will be there.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, I just say double check. I'm like, get a hand on your energy in that first.
Yeah.
Maybe get a hand on your other habits and then reassess the job again. Do you know what I'm saying?
And that was like what I was saying earlier. Like I had this job that it wasn't a job that I hated. It was a life that I hated. And I just thought it was the job.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the other side of the world where I was like, oh, actually, it's not the job. It's myself.
Yes.
And once I didn't fix that, but once I started working through all that, I was like, oh, do you know, it's a job that I'm good at. Yeah. I don't hate it. I quite like it, which I think is really rare to have someone say. And I was like, it just doesn't light me up. You know, I could easily do it for another 20 years, easily.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. It doesn't light me up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, like you said, it's not always the job or the situation. It's often ourselves.
What's next? What's happening right now?
I think I'm pursuing the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And anything that doesn't make me feel I think there's a big difference between doesn't make you feel good. Like if I stepped on a yoga mat and I fucking hated it, I really didn't like it and I didn't perceive any benefits, I wouldn't step on it again. Yeah. It's like jiu-jitsu. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't want to do it again. It didn't spark anything in me.
Yes.
But if there's anything that I do where I feel uncomfortable and then I'll try it and I'll come away and I'll be like, I grew a little bit in that situation, or I learned something about myself, or challenged myself, and that's rare to do nowadays.
Well, I'll say to my guys,
I'll follow that.
If I think your brain is often extremely happy when it sees progress, or it's looking for progress. I'm like, if you don't show it progress, it's gonna find fucking problems.
You're not growing, you're dying.
Nah, and it'll always. I think life will always remind you that it's about growth anyway.
Yeah.
Like if you avoid it,
but it's
you'll
uncomfortable,
get it anyway.
and that's the difficult thing. And so, I'm just seeking out the uncomfortable, I suppose. I don't know what that. I genuinely.
I was just going to say you're going to have to be more fucking specific than this on my podcast.
I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I'm looking at things and thinking I'd quite like to try that. I'm shit at that. I'd quite like to try that. Food photography, I'm trying to do more of because I look at my stuff and I'm like, I really enjoy doing it. I feel shit at it.
Yes.
So I'll try a bit more of that. Probably anything involving a camera. I'm like, I feel shit at that. So I'll probably try a bit of that.
For some reason, that's exciting me.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's an anxious excitement. But anything like that.
Just so you know, if you do a cool along.
Yeah.
I did one with this guy. I can't remember his name, but he has a really successful restaurant called The Man Behind the Curtain. It's like a Michelin star place. And in lockdown, we got a lot of these recipes because Michelin star restaurants were sending out recipe packs where you just, the kind of, so you'd get like a Wellington off Ramsay. It was already made. You just had to cook it really right. Ramsay, I mean, obviously he's not making it. And there was this one guy, his restaurant's called The Man Behind the Curtain. And he did a live cook along on Instagram. I fucking hated it.
Did you?
I don't think I've ever been so stressed in my life.
Oh.
Because you know what I'm like when I cook, right? Sometimes I do cook. Do you know if it says a time?
Yeah.
Like, I'll have to do the exact. There's this like, no, just wait until it's. I'm like, no, it needs to be the exact time. So it'll be like parboil this for 3 minutes. I've got a 3-minute stopwatch here. Then I'm cooking something else and I've got the stopwatch on my phone going. Yeah. And then I have to find Lesley's phone and put the. I hated it.
Yeah. That's
Bacon's not like that though, is it?
It depends. It
Bacon
depends.
you don't really have more than one thing going on at a time quite a lot, though, do you?
Yeah, you do. Depends
do
what
you?
you're making, but you do. And I cook a lot of savoury foods as well. So it depends. And I think that's it. So for me, I used to be like that in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're going to love it.
Everything has to be like
Everything
military
has to
operation
be
for me.
It's got to be perfection. It's got to be like a military
thing. The time, I don't know what it's only the time.
I used to be
the
like that
weights in that, I'm not that bothered about.
Yeah.
There's a few extra grams, don't matter.
Yeah.
But if it's the time, I'm like, no, the time has to be exactly the time.
I used to be like that. Yeah. And for me, it was...
And it got baggy?
Yeah, then it got baggy.
Baggy with time.
It got baggy over time.
Cooking, baggy bacon.
And I just thought, you know what? It doesn't really matter. And everyone's oven's different anyway. They vary 25 degrees Celsius.
And check this out. The oven in the apartment that I'm staying in also does microwaving.
Yeah.
I was like,
they exist.
No fucking way. Hey, question for you. I tried to figure this out this morning. If I'm microwaving something, doesn't matter if the bowl's plastic or whatever.
I think as long as it's microwave safe.
Will it microwave faster in something than something else?
Okay.
Because I tried to cook it in like a porcelain, like a china fucking bowl.
Yeah.
My description's not the best, is it? I tried to cook scrambled eggs in a china bowl and
it
hardly moved.
That is disgusting.
Is it?
Oh, microwavable scrambled eggs. No, thank you.
No, you're not having that?
No, I'm not having that.
Oh, you're not?
Not personally, I'm not having that, no. I've eaten a lot worse, but...
How else do you fucking do them?
Just on a pan with some butter.
You have to clean the pan.
Yeah.
You have to clean the pan.
Microwavable cooked egg.
No, you're not having that?
I'm not having that.
Mate,
I'm not coming around to yours for breakfast.
I feel like I've let you down here. Shit. So I put milk in.
Yeah.
I put milk in. I
Yeah.
put the egg in.
Yeah.
You don't put milk in scrambled eggs.
I do, but just the thought of it curdling inside a microwave.
No, but you do get the sloppy bit in the middle, actually.
Do, yeah.
But I tried to do it in a porcelain or a china thing, and it took ages, and then I put it in a plastic thing, and it was fine.
Probably what contracts heat better.
Is that the worst question you've ever been asked?
I mean, I don't really know in terms of a microwave. I don't use a microwave that often. I haven't owned a microwave in 6 years. I haven't owned a TV in 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, apart from where I'm living now, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that must be up there one of the worst questions you've ever been asked?
No, it's not at all.
Is it not?
It's not at all, no.
What is the worst question you've ever been asked on a podcast?
I don't know if I can say it out loud.
Oh, please.
No, I genuinely don't know.
Why? Because I might be listening in?
No, not at all. I don't know. I don't know what not the worst question, but one that always I feel a bit nauseous answering it is like, oh, so tell us a bit about you. And I'm sat there, I'm like, oh, I don't even know. I don't even know me.
When do you want to know? What do you want to know from?
What do you want to know?
When from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at speaking about myself often.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be better at that.
I'm still trying to get my head around. I'm still trying to get what's next out of you.
I don't know.
Do you know?
That's the thing. And someone actually on a podcast I was on the other week.
We've got a baggy future as well now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They said to me, like, so what's you've achieved this and this. What's next on your like hit list? And I was like, mate, you know what? I don't know. And I came away and I was like, I'm gonna have to think about that, because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
So I genuinely don't. I know what feels good. I know what I like to do.
Sick.
So I know what I want to do more of and what makes me feel uncomfortable and where I want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of what that looks like, is that the same as Nigella Lawson, Mary Berry? I don't know. I can't put a
I have to break all your fingers if you're going to be like Mary Berry.
Yeah. I don't know what it's. I don't want to be like anyone who's already out there. I want to be the best version.
It's quite a hard thing in the cooking thing, isn't it?
And
like
there's
chefs
loads of
and
things that I don't even know exist. So, working with premium brands to do their content, to do their nice pictures, that kind of stuff, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Another book, maybe.
Sick.
Events, live events, maybe.
This is what that was kind of what I was hoping that you'd come out with.
Yeah.
How do live events work?
I don't really know. I suppose I can imagine them. Everyone need a kitchen station, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Really, because I don't want.
Like
I don't
Bake
like.
Off and that.
Yeah, I don't like the thought of, and I could be wrong, but I don't like the thought of, say, 200 people coming to one event where I've got a kitchen.
While you're cooking and they're watching.
Yeah, that's not good for me.
Who the fuck's gonna?
I wouldn't enjoy that.
Who's gonna?
It happens. It happens.
Having said that, if you're watching on TV,
yeah,
why the fuck would you watch it in person?
Exactly.
What's my friend Chris Ramsey's doing a fucking tour of him and Rosie.
Yeah, it's all these chefs are doing tours, live tours.
They're just doing a fucking podcast.
Yeah,
with thousands of. They've sold out Wembley fucking arena.
Yeah,
in 24 hours. Who
it's
watches
a thing.
that?
I don't know. It's a thing, but I'm like, I would love to do.
I mean, they're funny in that.
Yeah, see, I would love to do live events where there's maybe 20, 50, I don't know how many, a smaller number of kitchens where people can come
See,
to
I will
these
come to
like
that.
more intimate events.
As long as there was 6 or 7 clocks.
Yeah.
At the same
There'll
time.
be clocks all around. A very kind of like where you can actually go in person and have an experience and walk away with good food and goodie bags and have a chat around everything outside of food as well. And that's what I would love.
Well, do you know now you just said that?
Yeah.
Opposite our office in South Shields, they have a place called Star Bakers where kids come and bake. And I'm sure there's like 10, 20 kids.
I'd do
can
that.
Go along.
Yeah, I'd happily do that.
Well, welcome to South Shields.
Yeah. Stop for a curry on the way.
I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Nina had a birthday party there, but I think you'd be very limited in what you could do.
Make.
But there's definitely loads of different ovens.
Scrambled eggs with a bit of milk in the microwave, I think.
Yeah, with that Danish toast because there's only 55 calories a slice.
But that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, I'd like to do. That excites me. That like it petrifies me, but excites me a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe something along the lines of that, maybe. I really don't know.
I wonder what they do with that bake-off tent the rest of the fucking year. Do you know what I mean?
Let's
Where's all that gear? Where they're putting all that gear?
Let's hire that out.
Luke will be able to find that out.
I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's probably part of it.
You heard it here first. Lucy, I wonder what would you call
Some
it?
kind of bake-off. Get baked, probably. I get a bit of a slap on the wrist when I call it that, though.
Nah,
yeah.
Who off? Your mum?
No, not my mum. It's, it's a bit of a... people always joke from like, oh, is that like a tongue-in-cheek reference, get baked because you like to bake with other like special brownies and stuff. I'm like, no, genuinely.
What a great question. Well, look,
I know. I'm like, genuine.
It's tongue in cheek.
I'm like, genuinely, no, it's that. I don't like, if I want to melt my face off, I go to Yoga Yin.
I love it. Lucy Lord, where can the listeners, the watchers, find out more about you and your marvellous self?
The bakes. On www.lordlucy.com.
Lordlucy.com is your website.
That's my Instagram handle as well. And then I've got Supper Club, which is my weekly email that goes out.
Talk to me about Supper Club because I feel like I should be in it now.
Yeah, you should be in it. I've got a Goodreads section at the bottom as well.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, so I put out.
Oh, man,
I wanted a way to reach out to people where I could share new recipes rather than just put it on a website and be like, it's on the blog, it's on the blog.
Yeah.
I wanted a website where I could put a weekly email out and have the recipe, and then
I know
also
loads of people in it as well.
Do you?
I do know loads of people in it.
It's good. It's got about 35,000 in it now, which is really good. And I do it all. It's all free.
Dr. Mike's in it. I know that.
Yes, I love Dr. Mike.
Mike's a big fan of the Lord stuff.
Yeah, he loves to make a good bake. I've actually there's a couple of recipes I've crowned just for him.
Really?
Because he's like, I'm looking for a lemon drizzle. I'm like, there's none on there, Dr. Mike. But if I'm making one for anyone, I'll make it for you.
We'll have to pull that up as well.
Yeah, put that out.
Dr. Mike is currently looking for a lemon drizzle.
Well, he's got one now. I've made him one. Back off.
So
we're doing a gingerbread one next, I think.
Gingerbread's delicious.
That's what I love is people replying and being like, oh, hey, I'm looking for a cherry bakewell recipe. I'm like, oh, I've never made one of those.
Have you made a cherry bakewell recipe?
I've made a cherry bakewell blondie, like a blondie slice, like a white brownie. They are really good. So I made this newsletter once a week that has a new recipe, and a lot of the recipes come from the feedback of people in Supper Club, like Dr. Mike being like, I'm making a sticky ginger cake. Do you have one? I'm like, fuck no, I don't. I'll make one. And then I've got a section called Brain Food, which is where I put like, I listened to this podcast, I loved it. I read this book, I loved it. I heard this quote, I loved it.
Oh, sick.
And then I have a quote I'm pondering at the bottom, which is something I've heard that week that I might put in there.
Yeah, and then a Goodreads link as well.
And then Goodreads link
as well. Here's one for you about puddings.
Yeah.
So in our house, kids often say funny things.
Mm-hmm.
Nina once said that at school she had a stiffy toffee pudding.
Oh.
Right? So we have this running joke in our house that's a stiffy toffee pudding. Max has got a stiffy, all this kind of stuff,
I've not got a stiffy toffee pudding yet. I'll put that on something.
Check this out. We're in a restaurant.
Paul.
We're in a restaurant the other week, right? All 4 of us are in. Lesley asked the waiter for a stiffy toffee pudding.
Was she doing it on purpose, or was it like a Freudian slip?
She said it by accident. Can I order the stiffy toffee pudding? And everyone all just burst out laughing. And the waiter was like, I've never seen. It was the colour of those,
bright
those
red.
chairs.
I bet it was a posh restaurant as well.
It was a posh restaurant. Stiffy toffee pudding. I was creased.
That's my favourite dessert. Sticky
Is
toffee
it?
pudding. Yeah, I nearly said it then. Yeah, I'm screwed now. Sticky toffee pudding is my favourite dessert.
It's Nina's favourite stiffy toffee.
But I don't have a stiffy toffee pudding in my stuff.
How could you make it better?
Well, that's it. It's not always about making it better. It's making it more of what I want. So like caramel slices, for example, like you might think Greg's offcuts are the best caramel slices.
Yes.
But I'm like, I like my caramel ratio, like I like a 3. Like a 1 chocolate, 3 caramel, 2 shortbread. I'm all about the caramel. For me, personally. Other people might hate that. So I make it the way I like it. And then I share that out. And other weirdos like me are like, I like that as well. I'm like,
So
join Supper Club.
that's the detail you go down to. I like a 3-to-2 ratio of caramel to...
Yeah, of my caramel to shortbread to chocolate, yeah.
Really?
If it's 1-to-1-to-1, I'm not interested.
I don't think I get that. See, that's why you love it and I don't.
I can't. Now when I eat out, I went for breakfast this morning, I can't have a dish. I can't read a food magazine. I can't do anything without picking it apart and being like, this is what I like. I want that bit. I don't like this. If I was making it, I'd change that. I wonder how it would be with rosemary instead of thyme. It's just conversations about food in my head the whole time. It's brilliant.
Have you been to Harrods Food Hall yet?
I have.
Mate.
I love it. Do you know what? The experience.
I spent a fucking stack of money there yesterday.
Just the experience of walking around though, I just love it. I just absolutely love it.
It's tremendous. I bought macarons.
Yeah.
We love a macaron in the Mort
they're
house.
amazing.
Yeah. I bought these little truffle things. They had a coconut yuzu one that I loved. And then I bought, we only normally get these in Dubai, like chocolate covered dates.
Oh, they're incredible.
Date with a marzipan in the middle. Or a date
big
with like
dates.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
With a slice of orange peel straight to... Oh.
So in Oman, they used to just eat those by the palmfuls.
Well, they have them in the... I remember the first time I went to Dubai, they had them in like the hotel reception. You could just go and get them.
Yeah.
But then there's a company that's like a really posh company and they do loads of different kinds. Amazing.
Yeah. So that for me, whenever I go anywhere, I base my entire trip around food. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Whereas most people, not most people, but some people just can't. It's just
well, here's an interesting thing for you. In lockdown, we came to London quite a bit, me and Mac, because some podcast studios were still open. So we did podcasts with James Haskell. We did one with Darren. We did who else? And Courtney. We did one with, and we 2 days before we come to London, he'd be like, "Why are you on Deliveroo?" I'm like, "Well, we don't have Deliveroo, you know, in South Shields."
No, I can't get Deliveroo where I am at the moment. No, not
so
in
I'm on
Cheltenham.
Deliveroo 2 days before we come to London and decide what I'm gonna have for dinner.
Yeah,
delivered.
Yeah,
it's mad. I think I'm getting like that as well.
No, I love it though. I love plan. I mean, but again, it's a baggy plan. I'm like, I quite like Hakkasan, but if I can't get into Hakkasan, my world's not over. I'm not a piece of shit for it.
No, it delivers to you. It comes to your house. Though.
Yeah, see,
it comes to your spot. It was amazing.
They did deliver until
you know the only problem. Do you know the problem I did? The problem I had was I took the lids off.
Yeah.
To take photos, and I left them off.
Oh.
So by the time it's like 7 different things, you know, like 7 different courses. The steak was cold by the time I got to the end.
You need to go in there to eat. You need to have the full Hakkasan experience.
And it's only in. It's not far away.
I think they have 2 now. I can't remember.
I think this one was in Knightsbridge or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But you need to go in for the full experience because for me, nothing replicates the experience of doing it.
Have you been to Nobu before?
Nobu?
Yeah. What do you call it?
Nobu. You called it Nobu.
Nobu's way cooler than Nobu.
Do you know, I've never been to Nobu.
Mate.
No, I think they have one in Ibiza, which I
They've
might
got
have
one,
been to in Body.
I think it's in Marbella now.
Is it?
It's
yeah, been
there's
to
one
that
in Marbella, and there's one, the one that we've been to is in the Atlantis in Dubai.
Yeah, no,
and there's one here. They've got this blackened cod that will blow your head off.
Really? That kind of stuff that I just love.
And they've got a matcha tea ice cream as well.
Oh yeah, that sounds delicious.
Phenomenal.
Japanese food's just insane, isn't it?
It is.
But likewise, like we went somewhere near Deering in Clapham for Mexican, and it's just a cheap and cheerful, probably a chain, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's just simple food done well.
Yeah, we could just talk about food all day. And I also asked you the closing question about 20 minutes ago.
What was it? What's
next? Where can everyone find out more about this? That's like the closing question, isn't it? So where do we go again? All the W's.
All the W's.
I feel 100 years old saying that.
LordLucy.com website. Supper Club is part of that. You can subscribe on there. Lord Lucy's handle on Instagram. I think that's it.